Okay, different approach today for EQ. It's based on the mentality that some people only EQ up to say 250 hertz. They don't want to do a full range calibration, and they think it sounds worse doing that. When Odyssey was like first introduced, it would, EQ the entire way up the frequency, and to be honest, it didn't sound good, right? It still doesn't. When it's left to automatically run, what I've seen, it makes the frequency response flat, and that's just not good. So a lot of people, what they're now used to is to just cutting off the frequency at say 250 hertz, maybe even 500 hertz, and then that's it. The EQ's done. You have Odyssey turned on, but it's really only managing the bass portion, and even then it might not be managing bass well either. So another thing is, you've got new speakers, they could even be expensive speakers, but you just want to maybe see if the speakers are doing what they're supposed to, and maybe you could correct some minor things here and there. I think the Harman target curve is the best sounding target to go for, and depending on whether you have a sub or not a sub as well, there are probably some slightly different things you can do even with the target. So let's get going here. I just need to make sure everything's set up right. Denon. We'll do right channel for now. Center. UMIC 2. 90 degree, that's fine for now for this demo. I use 90 degrees for the for demos, but I personally have found that I've got better results using a 0 degree file pointing at the speaker. I feel as though it gives a lot more consistency from treble to mid-range. And bass is, when you have a subwoofer, I feel as though you don't have to worry too much about bass. It doesn't have to be as high resolution as a subwoofer calibration is. So that's why I think 0 degree works really well, but today we'll do 90. Basically, yeah, let's do no harm with our speakers. Let's keep roughly what they have, but let's correct for any potential weaknesses. So let's just get a quick SPL. Can I do the generator here? Let's have a look. Okay. Good, nothing too crazy, just roughly making sure we're at decent volume. Okay, one thing I need to make sure, I don't think I did, need to reconnect here. I didn't set my speakers to large. We'll do the fronts for now, that's fine. Maybe center, but do the fronts. Let's send that in real quick. Sorry about that, I forgot. So basically the method today is to EQ without the resolution that you would typically use, which I use psychoacoustic smoothing all the time. I found that it's better than I've used 112 smoothing, and I felt that there was too much correction happening, and it made the sound almost brittle. So there is definitely some overcorrection that you can do. That's no doubt. But I'm wondering if we can do a calibration and essentially essentially use EQ as though it is almost like a graphic equalizer. And or another way of looking at this is tone control, just to get an idea of, you know, really a target that you like, a sound that you like. So yeah, all right, that's all set up. All right, so we're in large. Let's do this real quick. So we don't need fast. That'll do. Very quick. Right, single measurement. Okay, that's fine. 0 to 24K. We don't need that one. That would have been for a subwoofer, the delay. Okay, no delay. And yeah, this is good for now. So I'm not using any, you know, outsourced test tones. I'm not using any discs or anything like that. We just want to see what is happening with the speaker, and is there anything we actually could correct to make the speaker sound better or worse. We don't really know yet, but the goal here is to make the speaker sound better, but without doing things aggressively. So. Okay, all SPL, that's the right. Okay, so that's the response we've got with psychoacoustic smoothing. You can see down here it's psychoacoustic, and yeah, that's the response of my right speaker. Now, if you come into EQ, okay. This looks new to me. There's a few new things here in beta, but generate measurement from target shape. Oh, I did already. Okay. Okay. So for now, let's just normalize everything, and all we do here is put the SPL to 0, 1 kilohertz center with 2 octaves. That's essentially how Odyssey balances things anyway. So, and we can see here now with the target, like what's actually happening. This is a Harman target curve, and you know what type of things here would we want to correct? Now, as you can see with psychoacoustic smoothing, there's a lot of detail in here, right? And you feel as though that type of detail is just too much. Like full range EQ to your system, your ears, for whatever reason, you don't think it sounds good and you want less correction. So what we would do here is we've got this measurement here now, and we can just change the smoothing, and I'm going to change it to the first one, which is the least oppressive, you could say, and the least resolution. So instead of correcting for like these dips and like all of this, it's going to give you more of a guide for the EQ of what's happening with the speakers compared to the target. And the idea here is that the sound compared to the original speaker will actually sound better, but more natural within the sound of the speaker itself. It's not trying to really be something that it isn't. And for anyone that is, you know, almost against EQ, that would only EQ to say up to this point, or even here, right? 300 hertz. We can correct for some things that are happening. So yeah, that's so we can smooth this just to give us, look, that's an idea of what is happening, right, to the target. Okay, so basically, which is typical here, these are ELAC speakers, and the treble is dropping off. Like you can actually see this. There's some correction here in the mid-range as well, and there's some things happening with the bass here as well. So now I've changed that. I just want to make sure that I am Okay, that changed it slightly. So, what I wouldn't do, if I had a subwoofer, what I wouldn't do is remove this bass at all. I wouldn't actually remove any of that bass. I would make sure all of this is corrected for, but then zero the EQ out, which means the speaker would just be itself, right? It would raise like this itself and then come down. If you do have a subwoofer though, I would correct for this. I would just you know, make sure it is following the target curve and then just naturally let it drop off. And the reason for that is because I don't like to overcorrect. If bass is higher, like in my speakers, I don't actually like to overcorrect for that, because to me it sounds better, my speakers sounding natural as they are with the amount of bass they are. Now I've had a lot of people actually tell me that well, my speakers the bass is always under the target, and that is one benefit of having these ELAC unifiers. They are very bass heavy speakers by Andrew Jones. So yeah, I'll probably do two different ways here of doing that. So so now everything is smoothed, right? And again, we're kind of really just here acting as a tone control now. Where the speakers are not bad, right? But there's minor corrections here that we can do, and it will, in my opinion, give us more balance. I've heard it, and it you know, it sounds good. It sounds really good. So trace arithmetic, and this is if anyone's seen OCA's videos, obsessive compulsive audiophile, I got this idea from him about this, about inverting target curves and things like that. So definitely check his channel out. It's very detailed, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot to learn. So yeah, it's the target over the right speaker, and it's A over B magnitude division. I don't change any of this. I keep everything on 0. Don't check any of this, and we generate. And essentially what this is doing is it is giving us the exact inverted target curve compared to the target versus our own speakers, right? So when you look at this, oh god, no, yeah, when you look at it, that's the correction curve. That would all I need for the speaker for it to sound relatively decent, right? Relatively good. It will fix some of this early bass issue to warm that up. That would definitely warm that up, and maybe correct some mid-range stuff here that's going on as well, and not allow the speaker to roll off so heavily on the treble. So it's actually putting more treble into the system, and these speakers are very dry anyway. So again, it's not very aggressive compared to 0 normalized volume. We're increasing bass there by 2.7 dB. Like, these are easy numbers, right? 0.9 here to correct mid-range. Treble, depending on where I want to go to, I don't love to correct much higher than either 18 or 16 hertz, kilohertz. But, you know, again, at 18 kilohertz here, we're only 2.8 dB. You know, it's treble, it's nothing. So, you really could just do that. You could correct for the whole thing here. I might fix some of the stuff here, and we're going to fix the bass as well. But that's pretty much it. Let me check. I just want to make sure it's SPL aligned. Yeah, it was slightly moved, very small. So we export this. Measurement as text. I don't use any smoothing or anything like that. I use a custom range, 1 to 25,000. The only reason I do that is just to make sure everything is included. That's it. That's the only reason I do it. I don't include the headers, which is all the text at the top of the measurements in the text file. Yeah, and that's it. I use the resolution of the measurement, and that's it. So let's okay, what we got here? YouTube calibration and right. Okay, so let's have a look at this file. Here's what I like to do. I think it's that one. So I pull, I always pull two up. I have a correction file here. I'll explain what this is. So what I used to do was every single time I used to do an EQ, when I wanted to use essentially correction, I would use a spreadsheet here and do this every single time, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty stupid. So basically what I did was export the entire frequency range from the spreadsheet, and I set them all to 0. So anytime I want to make a correction to anything, I can just set this to 0. 0 from an EQ point of view, or at least this way, just means that it is applying no EQ, right? That's all it means. So there's certain points that you don't want to go beyond in bass and things like that, and I can just pull this and send it to 0. The reason when I do like full EQs on my system, the reason I pull up 2 is because I use one for bass. The first one is always for bass, and this one is always for treble. And the reason I do that is because if I cut my speakers at say 18 kilohertz, I always cut 18 kilohertz for every single speaker. So that's why I always keep like a copy and paste ready to go. And that's why I keep 2 open. So, okay, so let's actually look at the, let's get back to the screen. Yeah, let's have a look at these results. So this is the actual export. This is this this orange export here file, and you know it's wild in the bass area because it corrects for everything that is missing here. And there's a certain point where we just don't want to do that. So right now I am considering that I have a subwoofer, and I'm rolling off at 80 Hertz. So okay, so with this method, it's actually set to 0 there. You can go to 5344, and everything 5344 essentially can get pulled out, right? Or replaced now. We won't actually want to replace that. So 5344. Now this export, because it's been smooth, the numbers will be slightly different, but don't worry about that. It doesn't make any difference because all Odyssey will see is the next number, which will be 0. So 53. So 53. Oh, we actually do have it. 5344. That's nice. So we just grab this. Uh, 5344. Okay. So grab all that. Great. So 5344. So what this has done is 53 around there. Around here, it's essentially just set, instead of boosting all of this, it's just set the EQ to flat. That's all it will do. So it's going to correct for this slight bass increase here, and then just set it to 0, which is what you want to do with this method. So that's corrected for. Now the treble, we can correct for treble, but do we need to? Um, I don't know why that's negative like that, but I think this is fine. It's only 4 dB, right? You could go all the way up to 24,000. Now, Odyssey is limited to absolute 24K, so I'm going to have to reset. I'm going to change this anyway. I could copy the top number, 274. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter at this stage of the game. At 24K, there's not a lot of signals there. There's very small amounts. It was rolling off here anyway in REW, so that's why that was using that negative number there. But I'm just allowing it to stay flat essentially there. When you're only boosting things by 4 dB, and even here 3, to me it's not a big deal. If you're having to now boost something, like my left speaker would require more, because the tweet is not blown, but I'm losing the tweeter like every 6 months. Like it's actually, it's definitely a problem. Definitely going to consider actually getting new speakers, but anyway. Yeah, so for me, that correction file is taken care of, and in Odyssey, I'll show you what it actually looks like. So we go to Design Target Curve, Individual Speakers, and now we import a target, which is really a text file. Right. It can go to Reference and Flat, so right. That's it. This is the correction curve now. So we're just allowing bass we're allowing the speaker to be itself here. That's completely fine. We have corrected for this slightly extra bass that we do have. This is only 1-to-1 smoothing, so my speakers will still be relatively bass heavy, which is really what I want anyway. I don't want to overcorrect for too much of that. And this is a very light EQ. Minor corrections here. Warmth in symphonies will sound better with this EQ. Slightly more clarity in the mid-range, and we're not having this treble issue anymore with these speakers. Right. That's it. Want to see it larger? Let's have a look here. Right speaker, and that's it. Just larger. Now it's showing here that we can only really correct up to about 20K, and then it drops anyway. So that 24, EQing up to 24, as you can see here, if you try and put 24, it will just go back to 20. Even with limit measured, there's 2 different ways here, limit all and limit measured. I've heard that limit measured should allow all the way up to 24, but it is potentially showing here that the cap really is 20K. So not a big deal, because look, it's just essentially correcting for this, going back down to 0. So very minor changes. Let's send it and see how it actually measures compared to the target. And what I could do is put 1-to-1 smoothing on as I measure. Yeah, and then we'll see. So, yeah, I was just thinking the other day about this. Doing no harm to a speaker. You've just got a brand new speaker, you want to listen to it, but you just want to make sure it's doing the right thing. If you've been listening to a speaker for 6 months and you didn't realize that, oh, I'm losing way too much treble here, or the mid-range just had a big dip in it, and it's like, oh, you can correct for that. There's a bit of a suck out in the bass area, or your speakers are not producing enough bass. you know, you can minorly correct for it, but keep the signature sound of your speakers, right? That's really the goal with this method here, is using one-to-one smoothing and not being so aggressive with these with this EQ, right? All right, so that's sent. So let's go to preferences. How do we do this? It's on Psychoacoustic. Let's do one-to-one. Do I need to save? I don't think I do. Okay, let's just check we have. I can hear that right at the end there on that tweeter. I can hear it's got more high end. It's above, so let's just normalize the volume. Okay, so let's take that off. Now this is now the response from the speaker. Right, we got a nice bass rise. We don't have. There's a little thing going on there, but pretty good. Now we have still got this treble thing going on. I guess there's not too much correction there. So target. So now that's versus the target. Let's just make sure everything is right. Okay. Yeah. So we're closer to the target. There's still some small things going on here, right? We've even got still got the lifted bass slightly there. Very small though. But again, this is really just a check. What was the original? Right. So to be honest, even in one-to-one, quite significant changes. So let's take that off for a sec. That was the original. And we've got this lifted area here, and this part here. Now we put this back on, the new one. Yeah, that's nice. So it's brought everything closer to the target without going nuts on EQ. So what are big numbers here, right? So 0, 0, 1, 2 dB, right? If you see, you're looking at these numbers, I'm just scanning them, right? You know, this is light EQ, 2.5 dB there. -1, some negative numbers, very light. And again, this is I think the beauty of this type of EQ is we've got a target. The target, in my opinion, this Harman target curve, does sound the best. It really does sound good. But you still want to keep your sound of your speakers. You know, yeah, you got very expensive speakers, but you still, you know, there was still something going on here, or your treble was slightly rolling off too early. I don't know, right? There was a mid-range thing going on here. You can have the best speakers in the world, but once you put them into a room, you don't really know what's going to happen to them, right? They just might not perform as well as you heard in, say, you know, when you demoed them at a store. You know, I've done that before. I've bought speakers that I've demoed, and I'm like, wow, they don't sound as good in my room a while ago. And yeah, so that's it. That is really it. That is really this method. Now, so it's very light, and I listened to it earlier today, and it sounds really good. So it does show that with a very small amount of EQ, you can get speakers sounding very, very good, right? And not deviating too far away from the original design of the speakers itself. The There are some other things to be said. Depending on certain sounds that you like, I've always been against this, but what you can do, if you want, I'm going to say if you want a more musical sound, you can add mid-range compensation. Now, this is a bit of a contentious subject, using mid-range compensation. People think that, well, because the reason I've heard the reason it was made was because the crossover point on a speaker at 2K was essentially the problem in whatever speaker maybe they were testing for this, and it was because of the crossover. And then people think, well, my crossover is at this range, so I should move this mid-range compensation to 2700 hertz. And to be fair, I don't know if that's actually the case, because I've done it, and I'll be honest, I think this one sounds completely fine. It does offer a little bit more of musicality to your sound. I think like snare drums and things like that, potentially there can be hardness in certain sounds like that around this area, this 1K to 3K area. You know, it can be a problem if something is EQ'd to flat. Now we're not EQ'd to flat, right? We are drifting down, so this is debatable whether you will need this. But music-wise, I think it sounds very good with it turned on. With that said, if you have a Dolby Atmos system and a surround sound system, I don't think it's a good idea to use mid-range compensation on a center channel. I've done it, and I think it removes clarity from dialogue. Now you could say, well, I want all my speakers to sound the same. You know, that's great. One thing you could do is so have a different setup, right? Have this only apply to flat, and on your quick saves, say this is a Denon remote, right? And on say number 1, which may be your music, for quick save number 1, make sure that you've saved it, and that whenever you go to say that input, you use flat. And music for 2-channel can have mid-range compensation, and it gives like I said, I think it gives a more musical sound, and it removes some of that hardness away from snare drums, that type of thing. So I was against mid-range compensation, but after doing a few EQs and then actually listening to it after, I was like, it actually sounds smoother. So if you do want a smoother sound, this is a way to take care of it. And I don't know if it actually matters the crossover of your speaker. I think it just tonality-wise actually sounds better. Movers, on the other hand, here's what I've done for movers. I've turned it on for the left and right channels, and I've turned it on for the top Atmos channels, but no other channels have it. The reason for the rears not having it is because our ears are facing forward, or they're blocking some of the information behind us anyway. I have this cushion, and I didn't feel as though this would have been needed, right? It isn't needed. And the center channel is not needed either, because you need this detail. Female male voices, you don't want them to sound muffled in any way. Yeah, that's that. So you can use mid-range compensation for music. And then you could put reference for movers and have that saved. for movies where, you know, you can have a different version. Actually, what you could do here then is so flat would be for music. So to be fair, you could use all, right? That people sing from the center channel, but it is not the same as for a movie. Movies need absolute clarity, and I don't like to use that. So so that could be for music. Then you could just add another one, right? So add another mid-range compensation. This is for reference only, and this one is only going to apply to my fronts and my front heights. That's it. The rear Atmos channels, again, they're behind me. There's potential blockage going on here. My surround channels, again, tonality-wise, I've got the cushions. I wouldn't want to do it. I want as much detail from those speakers as possible. Mid-range compensation is not an issue there because this is nullifying it as well, right? So the only channels that I want are my left and right and my top Atmos channels there. And I've done this for a while, and that is the way. You know, you don't want it in the center. And this sounds really good like this. So minor tonality differences, you can say, with pink noise and things like that. Because of that, I wouldn't overthink it. I wouldn't worry about things like that. You know, it's just I just don't think it's worth worrying about. Having very minor differences in tonality here, and not having them applied to all the speakers. I just can't have it ruin my center channel. Or you don't have to use this at all. You don't have to use mid-range compensation. You might with this EQ, because it's light, you might not have any of those potential issues. I measure at 0 degrees now, like pointing at the speaker, and I found that doing it that way, I really don't need to turn it on. And this is how I got into the idea of, well, I could put it on for these speakers for music, and it does sound nice. It sounds very smooth. But even for movies, I could just put it on reference and not not use it at all on reference. So yeah, just some things. Now you don't have Odyssey, or sorry, not Odyssey. So multi-EQX, you didn't quite understand how to do it this way. So what we can do is we can do the import EQ way. So let's pull that out. And yeah, we don't have to connect right now. So that was the response. Let's call it target import. No, I don't want to do that. No, I will. All right, target import. So doing it with the EQ way. Over the target. So let's go to EQ. And configurable PEQ. Where are we? Everything's normalized. Okay. There we go. We had the other one. All right, good. Configurable PEQ. So you want to get this set to exactly what Odyssey is. So it needs to be classic Q. And the reason for the configuration is because if you don't do this, it will... you can export things that have too much Q in them, and Odyssey will not be able to do it. So like for example, the Q range here is from 0.1 or 0.01 to 20. That is the limit of Odyssey's Q. All the way it can go all the way up to 20, but it can't do any more. And the steps are 0.1. The gain range. This is really just how much you can boost. I've just got it set to -10 and +10, and the steps are 0.1, which is Odyssey. You could set this to like -6 and plus +6. So, you know, you don't want to use too much, right? Too much boosting, right? You can go -6 and +6 in one direction, but I've just left it as that for now. And again, these are the steps. They're in 0.1s. Frequency range of the actual EQ itself is by 1 hertz, right? So 20k to 20,000 hertz. That's the frequency range I want to be working with here. And yeah, again, 1 hertz. So it will only apply PEQ every... Odyssey cannot do point numbers, right? So it can't do 23.5 hertz. It can do 23. It can do 24, but it can't do any of these in between. So this has to be set this way. I've just maxed the filters out at 31. You know, it may use that many. I don't know. With Odyssey's system, it doesn't matter, right? You can stack 10,000 on top of each other. It just doesn't matter. The timing difference is no different because it just sends it as one file. It doesn't send it as like 12 different files for each speaker. Target none. 20k. Individual max boost 10. It's, you know, it doesn't matter. Vary max boost above 200. Is that so it allows bigger filters? It may not matter. It may not matter. So that can come out. Huh, that's interesting. I'm not going to do that though. I'm just going to keep it the way our other EQ was. So, yeah, that's it. Match response to target. And let's see what's going on here. So predicted. It's only using 3 filters. I wonder if it's something that's wrong. Is it this? Is it that I haven't set it to that? Maybe? I don't know. Oh, I think I know why. The difference between the target is so small. Yeah, it's not correcting for it. Oh, I see. Huh. That's interesting. Alright, a workaround for this is we just lower the difference by 2 dB. -2. Lower the target. Right, let's just lower the target then to this point. Oh, let's do it there, actually. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this, so I think that's why. So let's try this now and see if that's enough range for it to actually EQ. Yeah, okay, that's it. Alright. So yeah, that's I guess what the problem was, and it's done a really nice job here of doing that, of EQing that. It's still got this, which is probably Well, let's see which one actually EQs better. We are using one-to-one smoothing. There shouldn't be much of a difference at all, to be honest. Export filter as text. And PEQ, right. Okay, the reason lowering the volume of the target is not a big deal in Odyssey, because it will auto-balance that anyway. Auto-leveling here, it will auto-level. So something could be negative, negative 10 and it wouldn't matter. So import EQ, front right, PEQ right. Okay. Interesting. Let's actually look at it this way though on filters. That's interesting. Let's reconnect. I'll be interested to see how this looks. I don't use PEQ filters anymore. We can just transfer that. I only import the target now, so you know, it's been a while actually since I've done it this way. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that EQs that way. What Odyssey does though is it takes all of the PEQs and puts them into one FIR filter and sends it to the receiver. So it's just, it will always be, if Odyssey is turned on, there is always one EQ file, even if it was set to 0, there is always an EQ file on there. And whether it is an import or a PEQ, there is always, from 20 Hertz to 20K, there is always something. So it might be 10 Hertz, but alright, that's sent. This will be interesting. That's the original response, that's the target, that's my other EQ. If you saw the volume check there, it was the same volume. So, okay, so this is PEQ. Let's use PEQ target. I'm above. Let's normalize. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So let's take this off. It's blue. It's bad. Going red. Alright, it's better. Okay, so the red is the new EQ'd version. It's another red, but don't worry about it. It's definitely improved over the original, right? Absolutely improved over the original. We've got more bass here, and this is not perfect, but it's taken care of in a better way. Now let's see it versus PEQ. Sorry, import target. Let's just take the target off. It's close. So PEQ targets have more treble and slightly more bass here. Interesting. I would. Alright, so here's why I think that is. I'm sure people are thinking the same thing. I'm sure someone's like, I know why. Well, when you use PEQ filters, they are not brick wall filters like they are with the target implementation we were using. So this green here with the import is allowing the speaker to roll off 100% naturally. This has been done with a PEQ, which might not be ending yet, right? And it's just letting go after the point, and it's just put slightly more bass into the system. It's the same here as well, because you have more absolute control when importing. There is slightly more treble in the system doing it the PEQ way, and this is doing, the green here, target is doing exactly what I want it to do. But let me see. Okay, so it can be done either way, right? It really can with this method. You are not going to hear this, especially if you're using a subwoofer. You know, that's we're rolling off at 80 hertz anyway, so this isn't going to be a problem. I don't think you'd be able to hear this. So the difference at 20k is 0.6 dB, half a dB. Yeah, I don't think you'd hear that. I don't think you'd hear that at all. So when using this type of resolution, which is very low, it's 1:1, import or PEQ methods would be fine. But again, the only thing that you kind of have to worry about is, not worry about, just think about, is making sure the target has full control over the response. Like I had to lower the target, right? You know, you need it to be able to EQ that entire thing. This is set to flatness target 1 dB, so if something is within 1 dB, it will not EQ it. It's not possible to go lower than that. So I would well, it's me, right? So I know I get slightly more potential from importing as a target, and that's why I would continue to do it that way. But yeah, you can do it both ways, and you would not be able to tell the difference between one and the other. There's no way. I'm convinced of that. So really interesting, and I've listened to it and it sounds really good. So you would just continue to do this for all of your speakers, and again, the goal here is to do no harm. Keep the native sound, you could say, of your own speakers, but make sure it is tracking to a good target. So yeah, interesting. This, you know, good to see, really. I mean, both methods are tracking very similarly. I mean, at this point, from 150 hertz to 12k, 14k, it's practically the same EQ, right? It's only these very minor differences here. 0.3 of a dB, very, very minor differences here that I don't think in the grand scheme of things you'd actually be able to hear. So yeah, that's it. Now, one thing I will say, I mean, I may as well do this now, is if you didn't have a subwoofer for whatever reason, or when you listen to music, you only want to listen to music without a sub, obviously the PEQ way that we were doing, where's the target? So don't want that, sorry. That would be very difficult, actually, doing it this way. You might not want to worry about doing it this way. Yeah, it'd be very difficult. With the other way though, with this method, it's actually easy. So put this on the screen and the target. And essentially what we do is I want the, well, luckily I'm there already. 84 Hertz, everything has to be set to 0. So why that would be is we're trying to pick up this point that's given us low bass problems in the mid 200s, 150 Hertz. That's fine, but because you don't have a subwoofer, I don't want to correct for the too much bass being in the system. I just want to keep my bass, right? And I want the speaker to just do it naturally. So at 84 Hertz, it says here that the response of the right speaker is 5.4 dB. The target as well is 5.4 dB. That means it will be 0. So 84. Well, let's have a look. 84. Yeah, it's 0.09, right? And now it's using, if you see here now, it's using negative numbers to correct for the too much bass in the system. I don't want to do that when I don't have a subwoofer. So 84, 83. I don't know if I'll have one close enough. '84, 83. I do have it. Great. Grab it. Okay, right. And I don't want to change that. I only want to do the negative. So let me just grab this a sec. Paste that in. I might have to check. I might have to edit this a little. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one because if that needed boosting all the way up until this point, I want to keep that. Everything after now, I will allow the speaker to do this. That's the theory anyway. So I'm actually going to save that. And I do want to see if that works. I want to know... Okay, that one, even this one had more bass than the target anyway, so maybe I'm overthinking this, but for something I would do, I'm just going to go over it. Very obsessive, I know, but you know. These can all come out. These are all the PEQ filters. So import target, front right. Yep. That's it. So we flatline at 80 Hertz-ish. Transfer that. And this is a way I can turn my subwoofer off and keep that very deep sound that these speakers have, right? These speakers do have a deep sound, and they can sound really good without a subwoofer. And you might be in a situation where, I don't know, you've got very big speakers, and for 2-channel music, you didn't feel as though you needed your subs. I don't know. There could be whatever reason. You might even have a sub. I mean, I don't know what setup that would be, but you know, it's just something to think about. You could run your speakers as large, and you wanted to do this. I don't know. There could be multiple different reasons why. Let's see how it. Okay, that's gone in. 75 dB. were measuring 76. Okay, it's above. Align it. Okay. Yeah. 7.6. It actually has more bass. I don't know how that's possible. It actually has slightly more bass. That's very interesting to me. Maybe it's this affecting it. I don't really know. But pull this out. Yeah, it's actually lifting here. Interesting. What was it like compared to my other target? Yeah. So my target, again, I'm thinking that I have a sub, and it doesn't. We don't need this anyway because again, 80 hertz crossover. You know, you wouldn't need it. But that's very, very interesting. The rest of the EQ though, it's exactly this. Well, it should be. Yeah, it's exactly the same. So it's just this portion here. I've allowed the speaker to keep its natural bass without taking any of it. I've corrected for this low portion here. Let's just put this on. This low portion here is not perfect, but it's still corrected somewhat. It will definitely be warmer. Symphony orchestral warmth will come from here. And we will still have this deep thud that these speakers are really known for. Very good bass. And we've corrected them for the rest of the speaker. So, yeah. Interesting. Especially for people, again, that don't want to over-EQ their system at all. With one-to-one smoothing, you are definitely not over-pushing anything. Our max EQ was, I think, or our max boost was 4 dB, and even that was in the treble area. The rest of it is smooth for the most part. I think maybe there was a 2 dB in there at one point. It was probably for this part. So it's only correcting for outliers, like significant problems in the system. That's really all it's doing. So I think this is a good. Is a good EQ for people, again, that want that. They want their speakers to sound like their speakers, but to make sure that it's doing the correct things. And again, I've listened to this. It sounds good. Sounds good. It sounds really good. So now, is it better than Psychoacoustic? I'd really have to go back and forth with that, like testing. But you never know. Probably not, but that's not the goal, right? The goal with, say, Psychoacoustic is really to fully control and change the way your speakers sound in your listening position with almost just essentially full control, right? I want to completely change the sound of my speakers in these positions. And this one doesn't do this one. The one-to-one smoothing will not do that. Again, it will keep mostly what you already have and just, I think, improve on it, right? This little dip here, it's not perfect still, but we are trying to improve it. We're not rolling off treble in such an aggressive way. So this is a very nice sound. Really, really nice. So yeah, that's the video. Yeah, if you got any questions about this method, let me know. If this is actually something you've done already, where you didn't want to be so aggressive in the smoothing, right? You didn't want to go Psychoacoustic. You didn't want to go 1/6, 1/3. Looking at these, potentially one half smoothing here what, you know, 1/3, half. What a half is actually does provide a little bit more detail, but again, it depends where you want to go with your own EQ. So you can really do whatever you want, but I thought this would be an interesting video, just going over. I don't want to do any harm to my speakers at all, and I want to keep their own signature tonality that they already have, while making very minor improvements to the sound as well. So you should hear nothing but an improvement using this method. It should just be a better sound, as long as you do like this target, right? You could say to me, look, I'm not a fan of this target. I'm going to use my other target, and that's fine. You can use any target you like. You might have one with even more bass. I don't know. But generally speaking, I've found that from this point on, like, you know, 300 hertz, this minor roll-off that's going on with the Harman target curve is really about right. Well, to my ears, it sounds really nice. So I think the only corrections people would potentially change is how much bass they want in their system. And if I'm crossing over at 80 hertz, the Harman target curve is actually perfect. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, again, if you've ever tried this, let me know. So I appreciate you watching, and have a good day. Bye.